Get this. You know how everyone's always saying we're in the digital age, the information age?
Right.
Well, hold on to your hats, because Sam Altman's saying get ready for the intelligence age.
Yeah, and before you go thinking that's just another tech guy buzzword. This is the same Sam Altman who gave us OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. When this guy starts talking about the future, people tend to listen.
Okay. Yeah, he's definitely got a knack for predicting what's next.
Yeah.
But what exactly does he mean by intelligence age? It sounds like, I don't know, something out of a sci-fi movie.
Think of it like this. Software, but so advanced it can actually think.
Really?
Not just following instructions, but learning, adapting, reasoning.
Wow.
Altman's saying this isn't some far-off fantasy. It's the foundation of the age we're entering right now.
So are you saying this is how the steam engine kind of defined the whole industrial revolution?
Exactly. Altman compares it to the leap from the Stone Age to the agricultural age, and then again to the industrial age. Each time, humanity went through this massive shift, not just in terms of technology, but in how we live, work, even how we think about the world.
I mean, if we're being honest, those leaps forward you're talking about, they weren't exactly all sunshine and roses. Look at all the pollution from factories, or how many farmers ended up losing their jobs because machines came in.
You're hitting on a really important point there. Altman himself acknowledges that this new era will come with its set of challenges. He doesn't shy away from that at all.
Like what? Give me the rundown. What are some of the biggest potential downsides to this whole intelligence age thing?
One of the biggest ones he keeps bringing up is what it could do to the job market.
Okay, yeah, that's a valid concern. But this isn't the first time technology has shaken up the job market, right? We adapted before, so we can do it again.
Absolutely. Altman is totally convinced that, yeah, while a lot of jobs we have now will probably become automated, this new era will also create brand new opportunities, jobs we can't even imagine right now.
Like what?
Well, he compares it to how the internet created roles like, web developers and social media managers.
Okay.
Jobs that nobody had even heard of just a few decades ago.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it's still kind of hard to wrap my head around what these new jobs might even look like.
Think about it this way. As AI starts taking over more of those routine, repetitive tasks, it frees us up to focus on the stuff that requires uniquely human skills.
Like what?
Things like creativity, critical thinking.
So what you're saying is, instead of trying to compete against these thingamachines, we got to learn how to work with them.
And doing that requires a bit of a shift in mindset.
Okay. It's not about being afraid of the future. It's about being ready for it.
Yeah.
But this talk about AI taking our jobs, even if it does create new ones, it can be a little unnerving, to be honest.
Yeah.
So what's the overall vibe from Altman? Is he optimistic about all this, or is he kind of worried about what he's predicting?
I'd say he's cautiously optimistic. He sees the potential for AI to really tackle some of humanity's biggest challenges.
Like what?
Things like climate change, curing diseases, But he also keeps stressing how important responsible development is.
Okay.
Making sure that these powerful tools are used for good, not for bad.
So not just about building smarter machines, it's about building a better future with them.
Exactly. Because to build that better future, we need to start asking some really tough questions like, now, before this technology gets even more advanced than it already is.
Okay, so how do you even begin to prepare for a future that feels unimaginable?
That's the big question, and there aren't any easy answers.
Right.
But Altman does offer some pretty insightful thoughts in his blog post. For example, he talks about how our education systems need the complete overhaul.
Makes sense.
Well, he says we got to ditch this narrow focus on memorizing stuff and those standardized tests.
Yeah.
He's advocating for a more well-rounded approach.
Okay.
One that really emphasizes critical thinking and problem solving and being adaptable. The skills that are going to be essential in a world where AI is constantly evolving.
So less about just cramming your head with facts and figures, more about actually learning how to learn, right? I can definitely get behind that.
Exactly, because in the intelligence age, the most valuable skill you can have isn't knowing the answer. It's knowing how to find it, how to look at information and understand it, and how to roll with the punches when things change.
It's kind of like that saying, give a man a fish, and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and feed him for a lifetime.
Right.
Only now, it's more like, teach someone how to design a better fishing rod. because the AI is already out there catching all the fish.
That's a perfect analogy. We've got to make ongoing education and skills development a priority.
Yeah.
In a world that's changing this fast, we can't just rely on what we learned in school, you know?
Right.
We have to be lifelong learners, always updating our skills and knowledge to keep up.
Yeah, I can see how that could be a challenge. So what about folks who are already out there in the workforce? What can they do to make sure they don't get left behind in this intelligence age?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. Altman talks about this rise of what he calls micro-credentials and nano-degrees.
Nano-degrees, what's that?
Basically, they're these short, super focused courses you can take to quickly pick up specific skills that are in high demand.
Okay, so you can just take these bite-sized courses. Sounds way more manageable and probably easier on the wallet too.
And these micro-credentials, they can be tailored to exactly what the job market needs right now, so people are learning the most relevant, up-to-date stuff.
So it's like you're building your own custom education, just picking and choosing the skills you need when you need them.
You got it. Because let's face it, as AI keeps evolving, the hot skills of today might be totally useless tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. But let's zoom out for a sec. We've been talking a lot about the practical side of this whole intelligence age, like jobs and skills and education.
Yeah.
But what about the bigger picture? How does Altman see this new era impacting society as a whole?
Well, that's where his vision gets really fascinating. He really believes that AI has the potential to create a more equal and prosperous world.
Okay.
A world without poverty and disease where everyone has a real shot at reaching their full potential.
That does sound utopian, I gotta admit.
Yeah.
But how's that going to happen? Technology hasn't always been a great equalizer in the past.
But Altman argues that AI is different. He thinks it can democratize access to resources and opportunities in a way that's never been possible. Okay, so imagine a world where everyone, no matter how much money they make or where they live, has access to personalized education, healthcare, and financial advice.
Okay.
That's what AI could make possible.
It's a powerful vision, but
It's a tough balancing act, that's for sure, and Altman doesn't ignore those fears, not one bit. He actually spends a good chunk of his post talking about why responsible AI development is so important.
so we need rules, right?
Yeah.
Guidelines for how we create and use this tech.
We got to be careful about how we design and use these systems, make sure they line up with, human values.
Okay, what do we consider human values in this context?
Things like fairness, transparency, accountability. Like, we got to make sure these AI systems aren't biased against certain groups and that they're not being used in ways that could hurt people or society as a whole.
But
Yeah.
who decides what those values even are in the first place?
All right.
And how do we make sure they're built into AI from the very beginning?
No easy answers there. It's going to take a global conversation, that's for sure.
Wow, yeah.
Ethicists, policymakers, tech people, everyday folks. At the end of the day, AI is just a tool, right?
Yeah.
It can be used for good or bad. It all comes down to the choices we make today.
Okay, so we've covered a ton of ground here. The potential benefits of this intelligence age, solving global issues, new jobs, access to services for everyone.
Right.
Then there's the potential downsides, job losses, ethical dilemmas, the whole responsible development tightrope walk.
That's what happens when you're standing at the edge of something this big, this world-changing.
So what's the one thing you really hope our listeners take away from this whole deep dive into Altman's vision?
I think the big takeaway is this. The future isn't set in stone. It's not something that just happens to us. We actually have a say in how it unfolds. The choices we're making right now, the conversations we're having, what we decide to do, all of it, it's all shaping the intelligence age.
I like that. It's like a call to action. Don't just sit on the sidelines, get in the game. Think about the kind of future you want to see, and then go help build it.
Yes. We're all part of writing this story, the story of the intelligence age.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into Sam Altman's vision. If you're as fascinated by all this as we are, and we think you should be, go check out his full blog post. It's a real eye-opener. Until next time, stay curious, everybody.